All right, everybody, welcome back to a brand new YouTube video. If you don't know me, if you don't follow my channel, my name is Trey Cockrum. I've built two seven-figure businesses, online information and coaching businesses, and I'm working on a third right now. It's currently kind of on pause, frankly, because I'm just so busy with other things. In today's video, what I want to talk about is it's such a devious, I would argue it's a virus that keeps so many, and I'll talk about, there's a one-on-one client that I'm working with, and if you want my help, the information is in the description, but it's not for everybody. It's probably for like 2% of my audience. Information's down there though. And I was working with this one-on-one client. He's doing about 30 to 40 grand a month in his business. And what's crazy about this client is they're doing 30 to 40 grand a month at like an 80% profit. They want to grow the business. And so one of the first things that I do is I look at an itemized list of their profit and loss. And so this person was breaking down for me exactly how much they make, basically. They were getting like completely naked and showing me everything. And I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to obviously I don't want to disrespect this individual. But it's not even necessarily disrespectful because I did the exact same thing. But basically, they're making 30, 40 grand a month, and they're spending like 20 to 30 grand a month. And most of that is personal expenses. Most of that is their own stuff. Let me tell you a story for a second. I want to be like a father figure here for a sec to a lot of, especially young men in this industry who, like myself, when you first started to make a lot of money, that went right to your head. And you thought it would never end, first of all. And maybe it didn't end, but it changed. It's changed significantly. So you thought it would never end, and you thought you were invincible, and you were just buying stuff and taking trips and stuff. That is not true. That is absolutely not true. We've seen it in the coaching industry. This space has changed so radically so in the past 3 or 4 years. And the individuals, including myself, humbly, especially at the beginning, so in 2020 was especially, I had a personal income. I think it was 2020 or 2021. I had a personal, on paper income of, I think, $400,000. And that's just what I spent out of the business on my life. That was just stuff. None of it has returned to me. $400,000 I spent on just junk and stuff. And I think the business did 1.8 million. And I spent $400,000 on stuff. And I told this person, this one-on-one client that I'm working with, very lovingly, I told him, listen, you're going to make the exact same mistake that I made. I could right now, as it stands, have an additional $1 million or $1.5 million liquid cash in my bank if I would have just left my ego at the door. If I weren't trying to prove something to people on social media or to friends or to family. I remember one of my personal goals was to roll up to Thanksgiving in a brand new Jaguar F-Type, which I did. That was one of my goals. Why was it a goal? Because I was a pretentious kid who didn't know what to do with money. And I thought it would never end. And it didn't. And I had to reinvent things. I had to change my formula. And that's gonna happen to you. There's this song by J. Cole. I think it's J. Cole. Let me look this up real quick. I believe it's J. Cole. And basically he says, I think it's No Role Models. I think it is. And I think it's No Role Models. I can't remember the song. I think it's one of J. Cole's songs. But basically, he's talking to the industry of young guys who are first starting to come up and do well. And his message is basically stop acting like it's never going to end. And not only that, protect the money. I feel really lucky that I had like a really dumb 2 years, where I made a ridiculous amount of money and also spent a ridiculous amount of money. I definitely spent at least $1.5 million on stuff for myself. That's rent, vacations, trips, gifts, giving, watches, cars, um, just stuff, I mean, and it's because it is a true reality that the skills that made me that money are still with me. Absolutely a true reality. Life circumstances can change. Unforeseen circumstances can change. Market circumstances can change. Now, here's what I'm not trying to tell you. I'm not trying to tell you to live in fear. I'll read to you what I wrote to my client. I told them, and I've been telling a lot of clients this recently because it's just been so heavy on my heart. Said, cash or investments are your only true asset. The business can and will come and go. So the business will come and go. Again, I'm not saying a fear that taints our thinking. This is me reading off to him what I said. I'm talking a healthy adult and postured mind, aware that things are often temporary. And then I told him where I'd like to see him net, and where I'd like to see him in terms of his cash position. And I've experienced this. I have also seen friends of mine that should have 2 or 3 million liquid in the bank and don't because they had the same issue happen. And the scary, scary thing is, and this has happened to myself, and luckily I was able to manage it, but has happened even in a bigger way to friends of mine, is when you're not keeping up with taxes and you're doing this. That destroys people, because now they owe 200 grand in taxes. They've got 30 grand in the bank. Key things changed within the business. Team members left, or circumstances changed, or competitors showed up, or they got a little relaxed and they stopped innovating and doing new things. And now they owe all this money, and it's gathering an 8% yearly interest, and they can't default on them. You cannot submit an offer in compromise to the IRS unless you, and I know this from experience, unless you filed at least 6 years of taxes. And I had only been in business for 3 years at that point, so I couldn't reduce the implications. So I had to figure it out. And I'm telling you, the thing you have to do is be able to both offensively live in this state of growth, but then defensively protect the growth through investments, through just genuine frugality. And you learn this the hard way if you don't do it on your own. And I learned it the hard way. Like, this is me very vulnerably coming around and being like, look, I made way more money than I knew what to do with, and I spent like all of it. And you just have to mature. You have to grow up, and you have to realize, like, there are so many more important things than experiences and things. Like, people are like, oh, I don't buy things, I buy experiences. It's like, that's cool, but the real people don't buy anything. They keep all of it. They don't buy experiences or things. They just keep it. And so my wife and I, we live off of about maybe 5 or 6 grand a month in income, which is great. Because of that, I think my personal income, and I can show my tax returns if anybody wants to see it. My personal income this last year was 62 grand. And that was a 7-figure year for the business. And that's because I'm getting mastery over this inner game of not needing to feel my growth personally. Does that make sense? A lot of people, they have their business, especially in the coaching space, because it's so profitable, it's such a cash flow business, they need to feel their growth. I know people who they've just bought a really nice car in cash, and they're starting to realize, oh my gosh, that cash is gone. Can I sell this car? Can I get, like, that? You start to feel these things, and it just starts to own you, and it takes over your life. So the people that do the best are the people who are they just love the game, and they're just obsessed with the game, and the rewards, they like the rewards, they're fun and all, but it's like not the point at all. Like, I like cool things, I like nice things, but it's so far from the point of things. It's just, it's like, for example, I remember Sam Evans. I was in his highest end mastermind for 2 years. And one thing that I really learned from Sam was just that mindset of like a real proper winner, somebody who wins for the long term. And he would reference people like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant quite a bit. And I had never really been a basketball or even a sports person. And so I didn't really know just how incredible these people were. But like, for example, Kobe Bryant, like, I think he was like a billionaire when he passed away. And he was so obsessed with basketball as a game that the rewards, he wasn't in it for the rewards. He was in it for the game. He liked the game. He liked winning. He liked getting better. He practiced. He was obsessed. And this is very similar to a good friend of mine, and I'm not going to name their name, but they do about 1.5 million a month with their offer. They've become I would say they're becoming a good friend of mine. It's somebody that I've been in proximity to, and what's funny is he actually had a discovery call to get my help like 3 years ago, which is really, really cool. So he didn't end up joining it, but it's very, very neat that we go that far back. I didn't know until we'd met recently that this was the case, but he does about 1.5 million now a month, and he said something really cool. He was like, oh, what was it? He's like, he's like, eventually you just graduate out of like caring about the stuff, and you just get like obsessed. He's like, I know what everybody's doing. I know the numbers they're doing. I know what everybody's traffic channel is. I know what everybody's offers are. I'm just obsessed with the game. I just like the game, and I think you have to get to that point where the rewards, you just don't care. And for me, having a kid has really done that for me, because it's like I feel like guilt whenever I spend money now, because it's like I'm taking something from my kid, and I love this kid so much. So the point of this video is just, I think a lot of content is very optimistic to a point where it can be misleading. You have to, if I had like a pie chart, it's like 10% of my brain is this. It's like, okay, it's there. I do not want to waste this. I do not want to lose this. I need to be extremely frugal. And if that means saying no to things, I'm going to do it. If that means letting people go, I'm going to do it. If that means making hard decisions, I'm going to do it, because I want to keep my money. But then 90% is just that offensive growth. Like, nothing can stop me. Nothing would ever go wrong. Why would anything ever go wrong? Kind of a mindset. Like with this new offer that we're launching, my goal is to get it to about, $300,000 to $400,000 a month. And I have a personal goal of it being the first offer that I don't take any personal take-home pay from until it's netted $1 million liquid cash. And that's one of the goals that I have for it. So I've got that like written down on paper. It's like, this is one of my goals. Will I get it there? I don't know. Maybe I won't. Like, I don't want to be one of these guys. I don't want to risk being the guy who says he's going to do something and then it doesn't happen. And everybody's like, yo, you said you'd do this. So humbly, it may not happen. There may be circumstantial things. Things may change. As it stands right now, it's more than likely going to do that. But, maybe I fib it, or something happens, or whatever. Or I'm not projecting it out properly right now. But I want it to be an offer that gets me to $1 million cash before I pull out any money. So I don't want to spend anything on myself. So, unless I absolutely have to for whatever reason, So I think it's important, you guys. One of the things that this industry in particular doesn't like to talk about, because it doesn't sell well, because it's not sexy, is most people, this industry is very akin to like, it's very akin to like the hip hop industry, which I have like an affinity for, where like people just come up, and the people who have lasted are the people who have invested their money well and treat it like a business. They treat it like a business. They treat it like an adult who understands the implications of the amount of money that is coming through, and they can allocate 10% of their posture to that healthy adult fear while still maintaining. It's kind of a tension in your head. 10% tension pulled towards, dude, be careful, this might not last. 90% tension being pushed into the offensive and into, growth at whatever cost, because you love the game. And that's one thing that I think Sam Evans really drove home for me back when I was one of his students, and he actually had me on his email list at one point. It was really cool. I always really looked up to him, and I still look up to him, and I'll listen to his content and stuff, and I think I spent probably $70,000 on his products and stuff. Just ridiculous frugality. And it's not even frugality. It's actually, what's interesting is, to be frugal by saving doesn't make sense. Like, when you save, you get wealthier. You like, frugality is for broke people. It's not broke. It's like the opposite of that. It's very selfishly hoarding what comes in and being so protective of it. Because you have to experience, if you haven't yet, you have to experience that fall at least once. But once you've experienced it, it just humbles you and it corrects your heart. And I needed to experience a fall. I needed to experience, like, this is where my faith comes in. I genuinely believe that the Lord humbles hearts and he teaches you things that you need to learn. And we serve such a mighty God that he's willing to do this for us. He's willing to put us through pain so that we might learn something that will aid us in the future. If I had first come into this success, let's say my child is 5 or 6 years old, we've maybe got one or two others. I'm first starting to come into 100 grand a month, 200 grand a month profit levels of income, and I'd never experienced that before. Odds are I would ruin my family with that. I would ruin things if I had the same posture that I had when I was 20 or 21. And so, you guys, I just want to make a video because I'm telling you right now, I've got this one-on-one client. He's working with me. Before we scale things out, it's going to be so simple to get this person to 100 grand a month profit, honestly. They've got an amazing offer. They're very good at what they do. They care so much about their clients, but they're spending too much on themselves. They're spending too much on their life, and they didn't even really realize it. And they're like me, where they have just about as much in the bank as they made that month. And then within the next 30 days, it's going to go out, and they're just cycling their money within probably a 30 to 60 day horizon, right? That's really dangerous. And that's, frankly, most people that I see in this industry are there. And they won't tell you that they're there because I know, because I was that guy, and I wasn't telling people that I was there, okay? So I want you to be a lot more frugal, and I want you to save the money you're bringing in, and I want you to live off of, if you can make it a game to live off of as little as possible while you make as much as possible, that's where you start to build real wealth. Guys, I think we did 1.2 or 1.3 million in sales last year. My personal income on paper was, I think, 62 grand, okay? And now, granted, a lot of that was because I just had so much fear. I had a new kid coming, so I didn't want to spend. You know what I mean? But still, I look at that and I'm like, oh, that wasn't that hard. I can do that, So look, guys, I just want to send out a message right now, one of not fear, but of hope, that you can create wealth, liquid wealth for yourself by storing. And I, right now, live with regret because I didn't. And I don't want you to feel the same. I want you to thrive in every season. And, if you work with me one-on-one, because my goal with my one-on-one clients, every single one, I want to get them to 100 grand a month profit, okay? And what I want for my clients is for them to begin to store wealth and to feel a sense of stability with that. And I just think that, because it's new money and because it's the first time you're feeling it, there's almost just, you got to get something out of your system. And I get that. I really get it. But that first money you make is some of the most high trajectory, high velocity money. It's the easiest to grow because it feels the best. You're so in it, and their first 6-figure month, it's so easy to have a multi-6-figure month in the next 3 months because you're just going, you're ripping it, And so that is some of the most precious money because it just grows so quick. You make so much so quick once you find that stride. But I'm telling you right now, that stride, do not ruin it by inflating yourself. I know so many people that are doing this, and it's forever going to be an issue. It's never going to go away. This video is not going to solve it. It's one video from just some dude who's learned this from experience. But for real, walk and spend like you're broke until you've got a couple million liquid. Because frankly, until you're there, you don't actually have that much freedom. You can't even buy a house in cash, which... the fact that we've normalized taking out these massive mortgages and having a car on credit, and the fact that these things are normal for our culture is kind of nuts, And this is, by the way, somebody who right now is feeling the pain of my decisions from 2 years ago, I'd love to have $1 million house cash, and I totally could have done it, But instead, I'm renting a place, and it is what it is, I'm renting a place. And I like this place. It's a nice place. But look, I live with regrets, and I'm not perfect. I'm human, but moving forward, as of, I'd say a good year ago, I've gotten significantly more frugal and significantly more dialed back. And I'll tell you what, the feeling that you walk with every day of just feeling like a man, feeling like an adult who just manages their stuff is way better a feeling than driving any car, and this is, I've got I've experienced so much. I've bought so many things and done so many things and traveled, and and I've bought people I love things, and you say you're doing it for them, but really you're doing it for you. You know what I mean? Um, that kind of stuff is very, you have to be very careful, because that sinks empires. Um, you have to you have to grow like it's never going away, but spend on yourself like it could go away tomorrow, if that makes sense. Like, you have to really in your head draw a very clean line between personal expenses and company expenses. And also in the States, income tax is probably the number one liability for people in the coaching industry. Income tax, because people, it's such a profitable freaking business. It's so easy to just spend 5, 10, 15 grand on a little vacation, and then spend 10 grand on a watch, and then buy a new, put down 20 grand on $100,000 car, and then pay those, like, it's like, it feels like nothing, but then that income tax, that thing accrues, and then you have to pull it out of the business to pay it, and it's just such a mess. And so keep your personal withdrawal lean and tiny, and use your business to stack liquid wealth. And I've got this goal, like I said, of this new offer we're launching called KCCA, which I made a video on this channel. I'm going to make a documentative series of parts documenting the growth of it. Part 1, I talked about month 1 and how we signed up, I think, 3 clients, arguably 4. And it's just super low level test right now, but we're going to slowly expand it, increase our spend, grow it out, and aiming to make it a $200,000 to $300,000 a month business. Probably could be way more, but don't have a lot of interest in the operational complexity of doing so. So yeah, that business, I want it to put $1 million in the bank before I pull anything out of it. So anyway, hopefully this has been a good video, and just like a good healthy, like, hey, take care of the money that you bring in. Treat it like it's precious, because it is. Like, yes, 100%. You will have the ability to every year find a new rhythm based on what that year's calling you to do, and innovate and stay ahead of the curve. But man, is it so much easier to do that when you don't have to, not in the short term. And a lot of people, they're doing it because they have to, not because they want to. And running a business because you have to and not because you want to is probably the worst feeling on the planet. And when I go back, even just a short time ago, call it, I'd say beginning of 2022, maybe, was probably when I started to first feel this, where you're like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. Like, my lifestyle's here, the promises that I've made are here, like all that, like, no fun, and it is the worst feeling ever. And you can get through it, and the way that you get through it is just by doing the next right thing. Just show up every day, do the next right thing, put aside some of your fears and show up and get through that. Like, it's doable, it's possible, but man, is that feeling just awful, and I wouldn't wish it on, like, my worst enemy. Really, it's a terrible, terrible feeling. So yeah, you guys, like, just a message. I was having this call with my one-on-one client. He's breaking down their books, and like, if they just took the 15, 20 grand a month that they're spending on themselves and just kept it in the business, or even just spent it on, let's say we just invented a good funnel together and spent it on that, and we got a 3x on cash, 5x on rev to grow their business. Like, they could literally triple, quadruple their business with the money that they're spending on their personal. But most people, they're humans are so emotional. When you first come into some success, 20, 30, 40 grand a month, it's life-changing. It's life-changing money if you've never made money like that before. But the way to get from 20 to 100 grand a month, one of the postures you have to have is just pay yourself freaking 5 grand, 4, 5, 6 grand a month. You don't need to take more than that. And just leave it in the business, and just find a way to turn that money into more money within the business. Most of the time in this industry, it's finding a profitable paid advertising acquisition channel. Like with our offer, I think we're 3.5x on cash on it, 6x on rev. So we're turning $1 into 6 within 60 days, and $1 into 3.5 within 30 days. And we've got a really solid product, so I don't think our refund rate will be that bad at all. So we're going to keep a lot of that and do very well. And so it's like, yeah, like, why would I spend 15 grand on a watch when I can take that 15, put it into ads, and turn it into 40, right? And I can do that over and over again. So you have to build a business like it's an investment vehicle, where you can put money in and you get money out. And that's what a business is supposed to be. It's supposed to be an investment vehicle. But a lot of business owners, they don't think like this. They think like it's them interacting with the business. They don't think about their business as, I need to put in money and get money out. A business, if you build it right, is an accelerated investment vehicle. Whereas in the stock market, you could get 8 to 12% returns yearly, or with Bitcoin, you can get 400% returns or whatever. You know what I mean? With a business, though, a business by far, especially a coaching business, especially an information business, if you structure it right, is one of these things where you can put $100,000 in and get $300,000 to $400,000 out within a 30 to 60 day window, and you can do that over and over again. Nothing exists like it, but the problem becomes when people's personal life expands and it eats away at the margin that you have to continue to roll your money over and grow it. And that happens to so many people, and they think it's going to keep going, and then it doesn't. And that's why you'll notice a bit of a purge coming out of 2021, 2022 in the coaching industry, because that was most people's story. And it was mine. Mine wasn't even as bad as some of the others, though. And mine was, it wasn't good, but it wasn't horribly bad either. It was just like, wow, like I spent a lot of money. It could have been way better. It was kind of right on the line. It wasn't like so terrible that, I ruined my life or anything, but it wasn't good either. It was right on the line, but I know people where, man, they really ruined themselves. So hopefully this has been a good video. I just kind of wanted to talk a bit about this, inspired by, a conversation that I had with a one-on-one client of mine. He joined because they're doing, again, about 30, 35 grand a month. They want to get to 100 grand a month. The very first thing that we're doing is keeping more of that cash so that we can then innovate a funnel together that then gets them to 100 grand a month. And we're also working on their organic strategy as well, because they do YouTube, but it takes so much of their time to do it. So I'm helping him narrow that down so it's a bit more effective for his time. And then I'm helping him build out a VSL funnel, which is what we're using for our new offer as well. So yeah, a lot of fun. Hopefully this was a cool video for you. And, if you want my help to get to 100 grand a month, links in the description. And yeah, guys, see you in the next video.